Your American dream is out there. Protect it with American Family Insurance.
My dream is acres and acres of land. Not just any land, my land. Rich, fertile land. Land that feeds my family, my country, and my soul. My dream is a farm, a proud tradition passed down to me from my father, from his father, and perhaps someday to my son. He'll drive the combine at harvest time like he drives the toy tractor now. Of course, he'll probably want to replace the old barn with something bigger, brighter, but the dream will be the same. And because he won't want to lose sleep worrying about storms, fires, or a large liability claim damaging this dream, he'll protect it like I do, with American Family Insurance.
Your dream is out there. Go get it. We'll protect it. Whether your dream is a farm, ranch, car, house, or college education for your children, American Family Insurance offers a variety of ways to protect it. Find an agent and get a competitive quote at amfam.com or call 1-800-MY-AMFAM. Life insurance underwritten by American Family Life Insurance Company.
We have snow in the forecast throughout the day today with total accumulation right around 2 inches. There is a winter weather advisory in effect for our area from now through 6 p.m. tonight. Otherwise, look for breezy conditions, blowing snow today as well, and a high near 33 with a 20% chance of snow before midnight and a low tonight right around 20.
This is the award-winning broadcast of Healthy University, bringing health and vitality to you and your family, brought to you by Scotland County Hospital in Memphis. Now, here's your host, Dr. Randy Tobler.
Doctor, my eyes have seen the year and the slow parade of fears without.
Good morning. How you doing? Welcome to Healthy You here on KMEM 100.5, along with Mr. Bud Wilson. I'm Dr. Randy Tobler. How you doing, Bud?
Good. How you doing, Doctor?
Are you faring well in the snow? I'm doing great.
I came out here and I turned out off of Sigler onto the highway, and I got a big run.
Yeah,
getting ready for the hill at the radio station, and there was no snow on it.
I tell you, that is one in my memory archives. Bud Wilson and his little Shriner trick in your little, what is it, a Kia that you drive?
It's a Kia Soul. But
making
it looks
attempt
like
after attempt in your little car, trying to get up and spinning around and giving up, and then finally you made it.
It looks a lot like a Shriner car.
It was great. That was fun. Well, not fun for you, fun for me. We got a blast out of it. It was good.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to have a special guest talking about sleep disorders because sleep is so important. You know, Dr. Waddington was telling us last week about how many patients that are diagnosed with fibromyalgia and other musculoskeletal aches and pains and the I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired syndrome really have, at least in big part, a sleep problem, and that often helps. And I know when I talk about health and wellness with my wife and her clients, boy, she's always emphasizing that as well. It's something we really don't think about. We sort of take it for granted. We can't imagine that sleep can impact our lives, but it certainly can. And we'll talk with our special guest.
Yeah. That was kind of interesting because on Google today, I saw this story, and you may have seen it also, that talks about exercising in the evening or right up almost until bedtime. And of course we all know that used to be taboo. You said, oh, never do that. Well, what they're saying is that's not really true, that you sleep well if you exercise. And so they're kind of saying, no, that rule's not really right anymore.
I'm telling you, for middle-aged people and maybe under, especially guys who are more prone to heart attacks in the morning, which they are, especially Monday morning.
Up till 10:30.
Well, what time is it here? Okay, we're not quite under the... hope the EMS folks are listening. It's 10:10. I tend to exercise in the afternoon. And it gives me another few hours of productivity, and I may stay up a little later than my wife, who gets up at 5 o'clock to exercise, and which is fine, whatever floats your boat. But that way I'm more productive, but I sleep like a rock.
Well, I'm more productive if I'm allowed to sleep until 6:30, which is my get-up time to be there by 7, and then come home in the afternoon and exercise. Go outside if I can. If I can't, do something inside. But and then a little weightlifting. But I think I'm going to try that. I think I'm going to do is along about 9 or 9:30.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to get on the treadmill.
9 or 9:30.
Yeah,
that'll be interesting. Did the Google report say do it right before bed or several hours?
It doesn't say. It doesn't say.
Well, boy, that'll get you revved up. I don't know. You'll be dancing on the ceiling at 3 a.m. Yeah.
Walking in my sleep in the bed, yeah.
So we'll be talking about sleep disorders. If you have a problem sleeping, if maybe you've been diagnosed with sleep apnea, maybe you're wondering, wow, I've heard a lot about that. May I have that? Well, that'll be the time to ask that question of Dr. Amy Goralnik, an expert on sleep disorders.
Yep.
Wonder if she plays herself to sleep on her violin and piano. She's a classical violinist and pianist.
I don't know, but that's a thought.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you can do that in the evening. Or would that keep you awake if you practiced and then went to bed?
Probably not. Music is soothing.
Yeah, should be.
I've often wondered, I don't know, does anyone out there have a one of these machines that has the noise, like either the rushing of the tide or the waves?
Yeah, I got one.
Do you have one?
Yeah.
That'd drive me crazy.
Well, here's the deal.
Does it work?
Yeah, it does, and here's why. There's like 4 or 5 things on there, and I can tell you that there's only one of them that works for me. The other 4 or 5, if those were on, I'd be awake all night long listening to
What
it.
are the choices?
Well, there's the waves, and then there's the...
You mean like the waves at the Super Bowl?
No.
Oh, not like the crowd
Ocean.
waves. Oh, the ocean. I
waves,
know, I'm kidding you.
know.
Okay, the
and
ocean
that
waves.
one doesn't work for me
No?
because I keep counting the waves as they come in.
Instead
and
of sheep, you're counting the waves?
Yeah, but
Okay.
I never get to sleep. I'm waiting for the next wave.
Okay.
You know, the one that works is a spring rain because you know. The other thing is the spring rain one is the only one that I can't catch the repeats in it. You know, this little machine repeats this. It only goes so long.
I see.
And it repeats
It's looping.
It's looping. And I can't catch any repeats on that, so I'm not waiting to hear the big bong when it comes by, you know, or something like that.
So that's the analytic side of you. Yeah, because you're sort of, your mind's processing the loop and waiting for the beginning of the next. But you can't really discern the beginning and the end?
Not on this one, and that's why I always use that one. And the other thing is my wife stays up later than I do, and she has a tendency to watch TV. Well, if someone's watching TV in the other room, I can't go to sleep. But if I turn this machine on, then you don't hear the TV.
Oh, it's almost like the noise canceling device.
Yeah, it's a replace.
Yeah. You know what puts me to sleep the most? I'm looking.
I'm
I don't
afraid
need to buy a
ask.
machine. No, when my wife's watching the Hallmark Channel with the latest Hallmark thing of the day, it's like, honey, it's the same story. They just once it's in a rodeo in Colorado, and then the next it's a NASCAR race in Florida, and the love interest is the mechanic working in the back, or he's the dude on the dude. It's the same story, my dear.
It is Lifetime Movie Channel.
Oh,
Same thing.
put you to sleep in 5 minutes or less. And the guys out there know what I'm talking about.
Yes,
And the ladies out there are rolling their eyes going, it's baked in the genes. Oh, boy. And we have an interesting story also that I want to talk about for those of you who are concerned about allergies in your children and food allergies in particular. There is some, actually a sea change, a paradigm change in the recommendations from the American Academy of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology in a January article that I want to cover a little bit later on in the program. But we have just tons of things planned for you today on healthy use, so you'll want to stay tuned all hour. Now, we do want to announce, too, that next Monday and Tuesday will be our prenatal classes.
Yep,
right?
Prenatal classes for if you have a new baby on the way, you're invited, moms-to-be and the family also, to experience the journey to birth no matter where you plan to give birth at. Now, that's pretty unique. Yeah. If you may be planning to give birth here in Scotland County Hospital.
We hope.
Or you may not.
But if not?
The point is, it doesn't matter. We want you to come to this prenatal class. It's 2 nights, Monday and Tuesday, March 11th and 12th. It starts at 7 in the evening. It's over at 9. We use the new North Dining Room. That's the north entrance off Siegler Avenue, the old, what we call the old hospital entrance. There's no fee for this. It's absolutely free of charge. What was
and
that?
Elisa's getting ready now.
What did I
She's
just
doing
say?
the lady thing with the lipstick thing and the thing. Because when you're on the radio, you have to look good, you
That's
know.
right.
That's
I
right.
saw it on
It's
the
absolutely,
radio.
yeah.
And anyway.
Timeless.
Folks,
it's baked in the genes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the theme for today.
Here's the deal. You need to call Scotland County Hospital at 660-465-8511 and make your appointment for the prenatal classes. They're free. And there's free refreshments, and there's free tours, and a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
There's even some gifts.
Wow.
But the point is, be sure and call and make an appointment.
Right.
That way, we have an idea of how many they're going to be there.
Bud, you've heard the old song that knowledge is power,
Yes.
right? That's true. And if you want to have power for expectant moms and their supportive families and dads and so forth, if you want to have power over your anxiety, because anxiety, especially as that pregnancy rolls along and it's your first pregnancy and you're worried, even if it's been a while and it's your second or third and you need a little tune-up, the anxiety can make those last few weeks and months miserable, because I experience it every day. It's like people come in and they're frozen, they're paralyzed with their anxiety.
Yeah, each one of those pregnancies has its own different issues. Doesn't matter which one it is, it's still an issue. And
so when you come in and you learn and you talk to me and you talk to anesthesia and you ask your questions and we talk to you and you get the sense that, hey, they're actually, these people have done this before and they know the things to look out for.
That's a good thing, right?
And B, we can address whatever specific concerns you have. And does the script always turn out the way you wrote it? No, but 999 times, 900,999 times out of 1,000, it turns out well. And the point is that trying to just getting power over your insecurities and over your anxiety and over maybe questions, that unanswered questions are the most damaging thing to a healthy mind. So you have to answer questions, right? And that's what we do. And then you leave, I think, more reassured. Everyone tells me that.
Yeah. And the other thing to think about is, like, my daughter called us from Pensacola right after she'd given birth to our granddaughter. And she was at home. She got home. It was the day that they let her go from the hospital. She was at the house. She called Brenda, and she said, "Mom, tell me what to do. I don't know what to do."
Right.
And this is exactly what these classes are for, is to give people an idea. It teaches all kinds of different things and what to watch out for, and it's just good.
So come and join us next Monday and Tuesday if you are expecting. And again, the times, Bud?
It's from 7 in the evening till 9 in the evening, but go ahead and call 660-465-8511 and make your free appointment.
And I understand that Elisa is baking and cooking all week for all of the special prizes, right?
We better
Cupcakes
ask
with
her.
lots
of sugar. Okay. Joining us after the break, Dr. Amy Goralnik. She's an expert in sleep disorders. And boy, it's one of the most common and I think under-addressed problems in our country.
Yeah.
And it's related to so many other illnesses. So we'll talk with her about that. Maybe she can perform some violin or piano music as we go out of our next break. That'll be fun.
That'd be good.
We'll see. I don't know. You never know. It's like a box of chocolates here on Healthy You. You never know what you're going to get. We'll be right back.
Will 2013 be your lucky year? At Helena Chemical Company, we will help you plan for a great year so you won't have to rely on luck. Our Ask Fertilizer blends and proper seed recommendations will kick your year off in high gear. There is no luck involved in our proven Helena products such as Hydrohume and Trifix ZM or Seed Shield and First Up seed treatments. We don't rely on lucky rabbit's feet or four-leaf clovers around here. We have local, proven results. Contact Tim in Memphis and Steve in Wyconda today, because it's better to be good than lucky.
In the early going on Tuesday, cattle and hog futures are mixed. Soybeans and corn are higher. Hello, everyone, and good morning. I'm John Perkins with the Brownfield Market Update. In Chicago this morning, soybeans are higher thanks to fund and commercial buying, along with spillover from the outside markets. Now, the dollar index is firming up a little bit, but gold and crude oil are higher. But the big factor, the Dow Jones Industrial Average has hit a new record high this morning. Unknown Destinations bought 330,000 tons of old crop U.S. beans. China picked up 345,000 tons of U.S. beans for delivery next marketing year. Maize up 16 and a quarter at 14.78 and a quarter. July beans are at 14.57 and 3/4, 14 and a half higher. In the corn pit, they're up thanks to commercial and fund buying, along with spillover from beans and the outsides. There is continued talk about new export demand, largely linked to optimism about China's economy. The nearby supply remains extremely tight with the new supply and demand numbers out on Friday. May corn's up 3 3/4 at 7.07. July's at 6.85 and a half at 3 3/4. And wheat's modestly higher on fund and technical buying, in addition to spillover from the outsides and corn and soybeans. With the crop just about to come out of dormancy, there are the continued concerns about hard red winter conditions around the plains. National crop progress numbers resume April 1. May Chicago's up 2 1/4 at 704 3/4. May Kansas City's at 742 3/4, up 4 3/4. At the Merc, live and feeder cattle are mixed at a cash business this week. April lives up 45 at 130.80. June's 30 higher at 125.85. March feeders are up 42 at 142.95. And in the hog pit, they are mixed on the mostly steady cash and demand uncertainties. April is up 15 at 80.45. June 7 higher at 90.65. We're online at brownfieldagnews.com. I'm John Perkins with the Brownfield Market Update.
BigIron.com is the place to buy and sell equipment. Like a traditional farm or estate auction, all items will sell and there are no reserve prices. Here are some items selling soon, very soon, on BigIron.com. Find a Bobcat 331 and Cat 303 mini excavator, a New Holland TG 305 tractor, square balers, round balers, and over 30 planters. Bid on an international dump truck and Brent and Kinsey grain carts too. Just head to BigIron.com to see all of these items I'm telling you about. And unlike other auction sites, you don't have to log in to start viewing equipment. There's MacDon and Case IH draper heads, a Bestway sprayer with 94-foot booms, a John Deere 1980 air seeder, wheel loaders and field and row cultivators, or find livestock equipment such as feeders and Daniel's adjustable alleyways. Auctions end every Wednesday, so head to BigIron.com today before these items are gone. Jump online now and experience the power of BigIron.com.
To my foolish alibi for you, girl, I'm not too clever. I just adore you. Call me unpredictable. Tell me that I'm so impractical. Rainbows I'm inclined to pursue.
So if you're listening between the lines, that bumper music is chosen by unpredictable, irresistible Bud Wilson.
I don't know about the irresistible part.
Well, that's what Brenda tells me.
Predictables for sure.
Not irresponsible, though, because he comes up with great music. And joining us now, he's glad to see that Dr. Amy Goralnik is on the line with us, because we had a discussion earlier, Dr. Goralnik, thank you for joining us, about some news on the Google Health site today.
Hi, Dr. Amy.
Hi, how are you?
Good morning.
Dr. Amy Goralnik joins us, and boy, does she have a resume to die for. Wow. Chicago Medical School, University of Michigan before that, and then postdoc training, University of Chicago,
wow.
Lutheran General Hospital, and board certified in the American Board of Internal Medicine, and sleep medicine certified as well.
Yes.
And clinical associate professor of medicine at the University of Chicago, a very, very prestigious institution, I might add. So the story this morning, and we want to get to a bunch of topics about sleep and how to do it well and how not to get in its way and what it does to us and on and on. But Bud brought my attention to a story on Google Health today that says that more exercise, even in the evening, is linked to better sleep. Now, wait a minute. I always thought that we shouldn't exercise too late because it activates us and then we can't get to sleep. What's the truth?
Well, usually we tell patients that exercising leads to better sleep at night. You know, a healthy and fit body sleeps better than an unhealthy body. Generally, I tell patients not to exercise within a couple hours of bedtime. Mm-hmm. That being said, the patients who I'm telling them this to are patients. So if people don't generally have complaints, I'm not seeing them in the office. But if they're coming in with complaints, I usually say try not to exercise within a couple hours of bedtime, because that can affect insomnia. If you don't, and I also tell patients, don't do other things in bed, like watch TV, use your iPad, use your iPhone. That's for patients who have insomnia. If you don't have insomnia, you can do whatever you want in bed.
Yeah, well, I'm more productive with that's when I do some of my best reading, is before I go to sleep, because I get on my smartphone, it's quiet, and I don't know, it's just a time. It actually helps me sleep. Of course, that's almost as good as watching the Hallmark Channel movies that my wife loves to watch, because those are just, those are real sleepers. What do you see as, would you agree with me, Dr. Amy, that there is an epidemic of insomnia and its spin-off effects on our general health in America, or is it just what I've been hearing in my practice?
No, insomnia is one of the most common things that I see in clinic, besides sleep-disordered breathing. And sometimes insomnia can be caused by sleep-disordered breathing, but insomnia is a major concern for and it goes across all age groups. It goes across socioeconomics. It does have certain. It does affect some people more, but it's definitely a major concern these days. So most people will complain of, either falling asleep, problems staying asleep, or waking too early in the morning.
Oh.
Those are the main things that we see.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. Waking too early in the morning, okay? That is something that I hear more often in the context of people that are stressed out. Their plate has become way too full. And, it seems like that's one of the common complaints that I hear. Do you see certain types of sleep patterns, either trouble getting to sleep, staying asleep, or getting up too early? Are there certain patterns that are connected with certain circumstances in life?
Sort of. I think, mood definitely affects our ability to sleep well at night. It also affects our perception of how well we have slept, so meaning how sleepy we feel the following day. So mood, stress, whether people are what they call thinkers, during the night they wake up and they're constantly thinking about what they did that day or what they have to do the next day, that definitely affects their ability to sleep. And I think it actually is a personal thing, how it affects people differently, whether it affects your ability to fall asleep, whether it affects your ability to stay asleep. You wake up in the middle of the night, you may go to the bathroom, and then you start thinking, and you have trouble falling asleep, or whether it's this early waking. That all can happen with stressful activities, during the day, stressful things going on in your life, mood problems, depressive symptoms, all that sort of affects it. But, there's a number of things that can affect our quality of sleep. And mood is definitely it's up at the top of the list. But there's a lot of other things. Most importantly is sleep hygiene, which people don't even realize, I think. And it's basic changes that you can make to your sleep that people don't realize. The changes that they think are going to be doing themselves a favor are actually doing themselves a disservice. When I say that, I mean, like, if someone says, I have a really hard time staying asleep, and I know I have a big presentation at work tomorrow, and I have to get up at 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
So instead of getting to bed at 10 or 11, their usual time, to say, I'm going to have a terrible time sleeping tonight. Tonight I'm going to get in bed at 8.
Does not work.
So that's what you're saying is...
It creates a new insomnia. Now they say, now I have trouble falling asleep. Well, if I got in bed at 8, I would also have trouble falling asleep, but I wouldn't necessarily call it insomnia. I would call it spending too much time in bed.
So one of the problems is when people just arbitrarily... change their usual pattern that's working.
Right,
okay.
And sometimes people feel very sluggish during the day, whether that's from, poor sleep, or whether it's from a mood disorder, or from, seasonal affective disorder. I'm calling from Chicago, so right now it's snowing and gray. So
right. We're with you on that.
I'm particular to that, but people say, I'm able to sleep in the afternoon. When I come home from work, I sleep from 5 until 7:30, and then I can't fall asleep at night.
Yeah.
Well, sleep pressure, there's something called sleep pressure, and sleep pressure builds as the course of the day goes on, and if you sort of knock that down with a late afternoon nap, it's going to be hard to fall asleep at night. So basic sleep hygiene techniques really can affect our ability to fall asleep, stay asleep well.
But what if you are, I know people that successfully take a cat nap for 20 minutes. My wife is like that. In fact, that's perfect for her. She sleeps like a rock, but she really needs to have that little 20-minute nap, but it's a very disciplined nap. If I take a nap, on the other hand, I am out for 3 or 4 hours, and then I'm up till 4 in the morning. How do you explain folks that it works out okay for them when they take their little cat nap?
Well, some people may need a little extra sleep. Some people may have worse sort of quality of sleep at night that the cat nap will help.
Okay.
And then in younger patients, you always worry about if you have patients who are particularly tired at night and complain of very poor sleep at night. There's other medical conditions that you'd want to necessarily rule out, like narcolepsy or something.
Okay.
Where short cat naps are very, very refreshing, but when you wake up in the morning, you really feel like a truck has run over you. So besides just basic insomnia, there's primary insomnia, which is just insomnia by itself. Then there's secondary insomnia, which is insomnia caused by other symptoms, pain, underlying medical problems, medications that you're on, withdrawal of medications that you're on, or whether it's actually insomnia by itself or whether it's a symptom of some other underlying sleep disorder.
Okay, so we talked about sleep hygiene. Don't alter the pattern arbitrarily. Just be trying to engineer things. Okay, that seems to be one message. The other is be careful about long naps if you're super tired because you've had a really busy day.
Right.
You're saying maybe try to push through it a little bit, maybe go to bed a little earlier rather than take that long nap?
Actually, I mean, obviously, if you have to nap, you can nap, right? I just don't encourage napping later in the day. Trying to push through it is not so terrible. I actually think the best way to approach your sleep is to have a fixed wake-up time, which people don't usually do. They'll say, oh, well, I slept so poorly all week, and now it's Saturday or Sunday, now I'm sleeping until 11 because I'm exhausted.
Oh, so, Doctor, you're saying that on a weekend we shouldn't be doing that?
No, because what happens physically is that Monday morning you're giving yourself jet lag.
Okay. But Doctor, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the wake time should really be fixed. The going to bed time can actually vary quite a bit depending on when you're tired.
So that going to bed time, that varies. Now, you discussed this earlier. Don't throw a wrench into the routine. But let's say, for example, I have a friend, wink, wink, that, that has to make, let's just say, the next day
like sugar.
You do have to make that big presentation, and you do want to be on top of your game, so you would like to get to bed a little earlier, or you have to drive to Kansas City or St. Louis and back all in one day, which we often do around here, and so you really would like to be rested. And so you decide to take a Tylenol PM at like 8:30 or 9.
Oh, better living through drugs. That's our motto here on Healthy
So
You.
you can be asleep by 9:30 or 10 as compared to your usual 10:30, 11, or 12. What is that? And that's just occasionally, so that you feel like you could be on top of your game the next day. Is that just completely a wash?
I mean, if you go to bed at 10:30 and you wake up at 6, 7.5 hours should be plenty of sleep.
That's good. But you want a little more sleep because you really want to be on top of your game. So you take that Tylenol PM at 8:30.
It's all over the news that everybody needs 8 hours of sleep. And I'm not sure that that's really great advice because I think there is sort of a bell curve. And there's a range of normal for the majority of people. It is between somewhere in 6 and 8 hours of sleep. But there are the outliers. There are the people that chronically need 9 hours of sleep, 10 hours of sleep. Those are what we call long sleepers. There's those people that I have met very few that are short sleepers that will sleep 4 or 5 hours a night, and even if given the opportunity on vacation, they will sleep 4 or 5 hours a night. These are not the college students that say, I sleep 5 hours a night and I function great. Those are short sleepers on demand.
That are in college.
Right. I mean, you cannot
have youth on their side.
Right. You cannot adapt to becoming a short sleeper or a long sleeper. You usually are or you aren't, and the majority of people are not. They're usually somewhere in that 6 to 8 hours range. I mean, if you really have terrible insomnia and you're really stressed out about an exam or something and you're not going to fall, or you haven't been falling asleep for nights in a row, you have to fall asleep. I mean, a once in a while over-the-counter Benadryl, which is essentially what Tylenol PM has in it. It has diphenhydramine, which is just Benadryl. I mean, there's no long-term consequences that we see from an occasional Benadryl use. Whether it really makes a difference, I don't know.
Well, we're having what a stimulating discussion. So stimulating, I'm not going to sleep tonight. With Dr. Amy Goralnick about sleep disorders. And while we're making some fun of it all, it actually is a severe and serious problem for many people. So we will talk more about sleep and take your questions and calls when we come back.
Yep, 1-800-748-7875 and 660-465-7225.
And I'll tell you how angry I make my family when I sleep 6 hours on vacation and want to get up and go to Disney World starting at 6 a.m. I'm not the favorite dad then. We'll be back.
You know you need a college education to get ahead in today's world, but the thought of wearing a suit and tie to work every day makes you sick. And you can't fathom the idea of being chained to a desk all day. You, my friend, need to have something to show for a good day's work. Maybe you should consider a welding degree from SCC. In 2 years, you'll have what it takes to make good money working in a career field that fits you. We're onto something. Southeastern Community College, educating students and giving technical careers the respect they deserve since 1920. Don't wait. Register today.
The Van Buren County Register, based in Keosauqua, Iowa, is the largest weekly newspaper in southeast Iowa and covers scenic Van Buren County. Check them out for local features, public notices, school information, the sheriff's report, court news, and specials at your local grocery stores. They also do lamination and take passport photos. Call 319-293-3197 for more information or check out the latest news on their Facebook page. That's the Van Buren County Register, Keosauqua, Iowa.
I could really use a new dishwasher. Maybe redo the bathroom. Ooh, I know. Our tax refund could pay for a vacation. Beach, here I come.
Or you could use some of that money to help prevent child abuse and neglect in Missouri, Mom.
True.
Safe kids and sunburn, happy families and a new kitchen appliance.
Look for the handprints on your state income tax return and give to the Children's Trust Fund. It's simple, and every little bit helps us check off child abuse to create strong families.
And safe kids.
Hey, natural gas leaks can be very dangerous if you're not careful.
A tip from your friends at Mango, Missouri's Association of Natural Gas Operators.
If you smell the odor of natural gas, leave it to the professionals to track it down. Don't turn any electrical appliances on or off. Cell phones or light switches can create a dangerous spark. Warn others and leave the building immediately. And make sure you call your gas company from another location.
Learn more natural gas safety tips at mosafegas.com.
Sit down and take a look at yourself. Don't you want to be...
We're back, and our special guest this morning on Healthy You, Dr. Amy Goralnik, a sleep disorders expert at University of Chicago. And we invite your calls and questions. Now, Dr. Goralnik, I think you said something very, very, very important right off the bat early in the interview. For those of you who missed it, she said, now remember, we're talking, when I'm talking with people, these are people that are patients. They're having problems. And I guess, is it fair to say that if you like your little cat nap and it works for you and you sleep well and your life is happy and you're not tired and you're productive, or if you like to sleep in an hour or two on Saturday or Sunday, go with it? I mean, is that what I'm hearing? Or is that person destined to eventually have problems if they do some of these little deviations off the sleep hygiene path?
No, can you hear me?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I honestly say my motto is really don't rock the boat. I mean, if I don't mess with success, if what's working for you works, that's fine. I mean, I have patients come in and say, I fall asleep at 3 a.m, I wake up at noon, and what do you do for a living? Well, I'm a freelance writer. Does your schedule bother you? No. Okay, well, it doesn't bother me, so there you go.
Well, let's try a scenario that I think happens a lot, and it may have happened to many of you listening out there. And that is, you've slept well all your life, everything's fine, you've had your stressors, you've had your ups, your downs, but you've generally done well. And then you notice that maybe there's been no major change, no stressor that you can identify in your life, and suddenly you note that you're waking up too early, or you get up to void, and now you can't get back to sleep, and you begin to sense there's something going on, and you heard Healthy You, and maybe you read a story about insomnia, and now you start being the person in the corner of the room looking to see if you're going to get back to sleep this time. You know what I'm talking about, Amy. What do you tell that person that's worried that they might be developing an insomnia problem? Can they rescue this before they have to schlep up to University of Chicago and see Dr. Amy?
Yes, no need to schlep.
Okay. I hate schlepping.
I hate schlepping, too. There's a couple of things. One is that insomnia, once you have it, it's not like it's going to be a diagnosis that you carry for life. We can definitely make some interventions.
Okay.
The second thing is that there's 3 points I want to make. The second of the 3 is that human sleep architecture is not constant. It doesn't stay the same from age 2 to age 14, 25, and 60. It changes all along. Okay. The percentage of dream sleep changes. The amount of slow wave sleep changes, which is deep sort of delta sleep. The amount of arousals that we have per night change. And that's sort of what we call normal. It may not be what we want, but it's normal.
Okay.
Like particularly in men, after age 35 or 40, their slow wave sleep starts going down. And that's replaced with lighter sleep or wake. So although it's not really what anybody desires, it is quote-unquote normal variation.
Okay.
So the number of arousals that we have, which are sort of like mini awakenings during the night, those go up as we get older. So, for a child to have 10 an hour, that would be normal. For an adult, that would be great. Most adults, especially as they are getting into their later years, are pushing more like 20, 25, 30. So definitely, I mean, we don't remember arousing 30 times an hour, 20 times an hour, but it happens, and it's normal. The third of the 3 things that I wanted to say is that there's always the chance, especially as we age, the risk of underlying sleep disorders goes up. Okay. So people may present as insomnia, but really have something else going on. So it's definitely, if there's something going on with your sleep that's concerning to you, it's definitely worthwhile getting evaluated and making sure there's not something else going on that we're missing. Because especially if you sleep alone, or if your bed partner very hard may not. Hello?
Yeah.
May not recognize some problems that you're having during the night. You may want to be evaluated by a more subjective measure.
Okay. So
a more objective measure.
So it's normal to be from time to time abnormal. So you talked about landscape or architecture of the sleep patterns throughout life spectrum. Would that also then, can we extrapolate to say that from time to time you may have a little blip, a little speed bump, a little roadblock in perfects or what's normal for you, but then you'll return to normal, just not stress out over it too much?
Exactly.
Okay.
So there's acute insomnia, which happens over days and weeks maybe, and then there's chronic insomnia, which is months or longer. And to treat acute insomnia, what we were saying before, like a little over-the-counter medication or even a prescription medication short term.
Okay.
No real downside to that.
So you're not, I'll get a lot of people that come in and say, wow, I've just been having a tough time sleeping lately. Maybe it is because you have that upcoming presentation, or you're stressed because you're planning the 5th grade graduation party, or whatever it is. And, and I get people to say, I say, well, look, why don't we give you a little something or try a little something for just a couple weeks? I'm only going to give it to you for 2 or 3 weeks max, because, we don't want to, and they'll say, oh no, I don't want to take anything. I'm going to get addicted to it. I'm not, and I sometimes I fight that battle. I find myself talking people into trying something to help relieve that little short-term deal.
Yeah, I don't think, short-term, and a lot of the medications that I would choose are not particularly habit-forming. And I don't think a short-term trial of a medication is the worst thing in the world, especially for something acute that is just going to be sort of a bridge to the next stage.
How about some of the well, I want to talk about the general category of the low-hanging fruit of, self-care remedies for insomnia. We hear about lavender, aromatherapy. We had an expert on from Chicago, in fact, and we talked to him about that, the taste and smell guy.
Yes.
Remember?
Yes.
And he said there are some realities there, that you might get some help from the connection between your olfactory sense and sleep. Or we read and hear about melatonin. There's a lot of these sort of home-brewed remedies. No, Bud, don't go there when I say home-brewed. You should have seen Bud's eyes light up when I said home-brewed remedy. I don't know what he's talking about.
He watches moonshiners before he goes to bed
that's
at night.
What it is.
That's what
okay.
it is that makes him sleep so well.
Seriously, are any of those things worth trying? The warm bath with a little lavender oil on it to get some of that. What do you say? Any help or
the
not?
lavender oil, I got to say, I don't think I can answer intelligently on.
Okay.
But, some of these sort of homeopathic things, they're not regulated by the FDA. So the purity of whatever's in them is sort of unknown, and there's not very much research on them. So again, if it works for you, hot dog.
How about melatonin?
Melatonin is not. It's. I don't put it in the same category as a lavender scented eye mask. Right. Melatonin is no offense to anybody who really likes lavender.
I prefer a sachet under my pillow, but go ahead.
So melatonin is a naturally occurring hormone, and it rises as. With its rise, we get sleepy. I think the biggest mistake people do with melatonin is that they don't take it early enough. Now, I don't mean take it in the afternoon, but you should not be taking it at bedtime. It will not work. Your natural melatonin surge is already taking off at that time, and if you're going to fall asleep, it's not because of the melatonin you just took. The melatonin you just took is going to sort of kick in after your melatonin surge is already on its way up. So if you want to take melatonin, usually like at least an hour before bedtime, that's about a good time to start taking it. And, there's no proven benefit to 2 milligrams versus 5 versus these mega doses of 10 milligrams. I'm not sure that it makes a giant difference. The only thing is that if you're going to use melatonin, I like it in its pure state and not with, patchouli oil or whatever else.
And I always advise, because my wife does a lot of this kind of stuff in terms of some very, I think, credible type work, but make sure that you're getting this from a supplier that is willing to provide you with a certificate of, toxin-free and all that. And get pharmaceutical-grade supplements if you're going to use them. Very, very important. We had a caller with a question.
We had a caller, and it's all along the same line. Whether it's a over-the-counter Benadryl or a Tylenol PM,
or a prescriptive,
or the melatonin, is there any difference in the quality of sleep, the productivity of your sleep, if it is a natural sleep, so you just fall asleep on your own on your very own, or if you do have an over-the-counter or a prescription or one of these homeopathic, is there a difference in quality of sleep? That's the question.
Well, the quality of sleep, that's sort of a vague term. It's hard to know whether you're talking about quality of sleep. Is there enough REM? Is there enough deep sleep? Are we talking about microarousals? I don't think there's too much known on that. I know with certain medications, there is something called a hangover effect. And so even though you feel like you got a ton of sleep, you're still kind of sluggish the next day, which sort of defeats the purpose of taking a sleep medication.
Yeah.
So I do think that is a real problem. I think the most common sleep aid that people prescribe themselves is alcohol, and that's something we hadn't mentioned with the home brew therapy.
Big problem, huh? Big problem.
Well, it's sort of deceiving because people take it because it really does a wonderful job of putting you to sleep very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So what we call the sleep latency, how long it takes you to fall asleep once you get in bed. The sleep latency is decreased tremendously.
Okay.
And people fall asleep pretty well for those first few hours. So it sort of lures you in. But then what happens as your blood alcohol content starts to normalize, it really does fragment the second half of your night of sleep. So even though you fall asleep quickly and you fall asleep hard, it really ruins the second half of your night of sleep because those arousals or those little mini awakenings, they're much more frequent. So your night of sleep actually is much worse, even though you feel like you've done something good for yourself.
So, Bud, when you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, just have another slug of the Johnny Walker. Not a problem.
Yeah, I'm not going to put my name on that recommendation.
We're kidding.
When I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, it's not for that.
We don't call him Flomax Bud for nothing. Now, so we do need to talk about some other common things that come up. Caffeine. People who just are, they're drinking the equivalent of, pot and a half of coffee a day. They always have.
Yeah.
And then maybe because of that, I love the way you framed it, Dr. Graunig, like the architectural changes of our sleep patterns. Maybe they're 45, 50-ish, and now suddenly, boy, we're getting some problems, either falling or staying asleep. Would you recommend a modification of caffeine patterns? I mean, is that a common inhibitor of good sleep?
Absolutely. In fact, I just saw somebody yesterday who people don't even realize that, sodas have as much caffeine, chocolate has caffeine, and, the sizes of the coffees that we're getting now at like Starbucks or they're enormous. And people are having, I only have 2 a day, but they're like 2 liters of cafe latte. So it really does impact our sleep. So, I mean, if you're not having insomnia, you can drink coffee until bedtime. It doesn't bother me if it doesn't bother you. But if insomnia is a real problem, then after noon, I really wouldn't say take any caffeine. Try and avoid caffeine because it does take about 8 hours to metabolize. And then the same with those energy drinks that are available.
Oh, yeah, those are something else.
We had a caller. They have a question. You're really spurring our interest with the show this morning. Thanks, Dr. Graunig.
Thanks.
The caller is a gentleman. He has sleep apnea, been diagnosed with sleep apnea. He has tried the mask. He wants to know where to go from here. He cannot sleep with the mask on more than 2 hours. He feels like he is being suffocated. So he sleeps about 2 hours. He is not using the mask anymore. Has to get up for about 30 minutes and goes back to bed for another 2 hours. And he says if he gets 4 hours of sleep a night, he feels like he has accomplished something. But where do you go from here if the sleep apnea, the CPAP mask is not working?
Okay, so this is a heavy question. So there's a couple of things we can do. One is that one mask does not fit everybody. So there's lots of different masks. You don't have to wear the mask that's like underwater scuba gear. You don't have to wear the Darth Vader thing. There's some sort of very elegant, small, sleek things that sort of, depending on what pressures you're on, that are much smaller and much more comfortable for most patients. Okay, you can get longer hosing so you don't feel like you're being tethered to the machine at night. There's also something that we do called mask desensitization. You basically wear the mask not hooked up to anything during evening hours while you're watching the news, just so that when you put the mask on at night, you don't freak out. Oh my God, I got this mask on.
Sure.
But it's just to get you used to the idea, and you do it for increasing periods of time. 15 minutes one night, 20 minutes the next, and do it, as you're comfortable. If you have significant sleep apnea that needs to be treated, and you have given it the college try, and you just cannot use CPAP, there are other options. I think the main one is something called a mandibular advancement device, or it's basically an oral device. It's a retainer that fits on the upper and lower teeth and has a hinge, and it swings your bottom jaw out in front of your top jaw, so you kind of end up looking a little bit like Frankenstein. During the day when you take it out, you do not have that bite. Your bite goes back to normal. But the idea is the bottom jaw is swung forward. It sort of pulls some of the soft tissue base of the tongue off the posterior airway, so it opens it up a little bit. It doesn't work as consistently well as CPAP does, but if you cannot tolerate CPAP, or you have mild obstructive sleep apnea and you don't, and you're uncomfortable with CPAP, then it is an option for you. There are options. Another option is always surgery, and when I say surgery, that could be weight loss surgery. It could be upper airway surgery, but you have to be the correct candidate for upper airway surgery. Not everybody's a good candidate for it. General lifestyle modifications, I always encourage weight loss. If weight is a risk factor, if somebody is not overweight, then losing weight probably won't do much for your sleep apnea. But that is a longer-term fix, and in the meantime, while you're losing the weight, you should be treated.
But you could probably identify in people that have mild and sort of recent onset sleep apnea problems that seem to be obstructive there are some things that you can do that I'm hearing already here. Weight loss, and combined with getting a better start to your sleep night by maybe doing a little walk. Get on the treadmill while you're watching the evening news. Nothing too vigorous, but just a little bit to sort of help get the fitness going. Sleeping on your side, Dr. Gralnick, that's important, isn't it, if you have an obstructive problem rather than your back?
Not necessarily.
No.
So there is something called positional sleep apnea, and that means that your sleep apnea gets worse usually when you're on your back.
Yeah.
And it gets better when you're on your side. Not everybody has that. Some people are exactly the same on their side. And some people's main complaint is also their bed partner says they're snoring. And if so they continue to snore on their side, then sleeping on your side is not the answer. If they continue to have obstructive breathing problems on your side, then sleeping on your side is not the answer.
Yeah, right.
There's other, if you have a rotator cuff injury, a hip problems, sleeping on your side is not an option.
No, obviously. But
it's also not consistently as successful. So in order to have effective positional therapy sleeping, you have to sleep with a positioner. And most people, once they stop sleeping with the positioner, they go back to their old habits and sleep on their side.
Positioner. Well, that could just be a big St. Bernard.
It could be.
Lucy.
It could be.
It could be
Or Lucy, my wonder dog.
dog.
Yeah, Lucy the wonder dog. All right. Before we take our last break here, I want to ask you one other thing. You wanted to talk about sleep restriction. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean voluntary not getting enough sleep? What does that mean?
So sleep restriction is that idea when we were saying, I have been sleeping terribly, I need to get up at 6, I'm going to go to bed consistently now at 8 o'clock to try and sleep more. I'm going to go to bed now at 6 o'clock because I was sleeping poorly then. And you're ending up with patients who spend 12 hours in bed and saying, I sleep only 4 or 5 hours a night and I'm spending 12 hours in bed. What's the deal?
Okay.
So the idea is to restrict the amount of time that you're in bed really to when you're sleeping. If you're not sleeping during the night, you should not be in bed.
Wow.
So we sort of combine sleep restriction with something called stimulus control. So sleep restriction, stimulus control is, again, the idea that you're not supposed to stay in bed unless you're asleep. So we basically fix the wake time. Whatever time you want to wake up, that's going to be your wake time. The going to bed time, let's say you tell me, I don't think I sleep more than 6 hours a night, even though I'm spending 10 hours in bed. If your wake time is going to be fixed at 6 a.m., then you should not be getting in bed before midnight. 6 hours of sleep is what you think you get? Fine. 6 hours is what you're going to get.
Okay, so take the hours that you get and subtract that from your wake time.
Right. And then once your what we call sleep efficiency improves. So once you say, well, I used to sleep 6 hours out of 10. Now I'm sleeping 5 hours and 40 minutes out of the 6 you're giving me. Now you can start to back up the going to bed time. Well, now your sleep efficiency, the 5.5 hours or 5 hours and 45 minutes over 6 hours, well, that's a pretty good efficiency. Now you can start to back that up to 11:45. Once you're continuing to sleep well, now I'm sleeping 6 hours out of 6.5. Now you can back it up a little bit.
Wow.
And so you're slowly extending your sleep period, but initially you're just going to restrict the amount of time that you're in bed.
Baby steps to get baby sleep.
Right, exactly.
Okay, you can copyright that. I'll let you go ahead and do it.
Thanks,
Dr. Gralnick, if people would like to, we're not too far from you here. We're what?
By train, you're 4 hours from Quincy.
Yeah. If people would like to make an appointment to see you, how do they do that?
They can call 773-834-5400, and that's the Sleep Disorder Center.
Well, it has been a pleasure again to have you with us. I hope you'll join us from time to time and give us a tickle if your research or something else in the field really is something we need to know about. And we won't ask for a whole hour of your time, but maybe you can just do a little quick hit with us, okay?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks so much. You were great.
What's the website?
Pardon me?
What's the website?
You can go to uchospitals.edu.
Okay. Hey, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.
All
Have
right.
a great
Take
day.
care. You too.
Bye-bye.
Oh, she's great, huh? Wow. Now, no one has an excuse for not sleeping well tonight because there's so many good hints and tips there. I guess we can't enjoy that, what do they call it, the venti latte from the big, oh my goodness size, big gulp. Can't do that at 8 o'clock at night if you want to get good sleep.
Well, you can, but you'll pay the price.
Yeah. When she talked about stimulus control, I thought it was like, Brenda, you got to take the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue away from Bud at night, okay? We'll be right back.
And the taste of champagne
Putnam County State Bank is your hometown bank, and they take pride in offering their customers all the modern-day conveniences you expect from your financial institution. NetTeller, their new online banking solution, allows for easy account access and effortless bill payment. NetTeller is a secure and convenient way to manage your finances. Stop in and see them in Unionville or Milan today, and they'll be happy to get you started with internet banking. Putnam County State Bank, your hometown bank, member FDIC.
Did you know Memphis Area Pregnancy Care Center offers a variety of services to our community? We have volunteer counselors who care about you and will lend non-judgmental, compassionate support to help you. We provide free pregnancy testing, parenting education, abstinence information, and support and healing from post-abortion trauma. We can help you with baby supplies and clothing, and we have adoption information and help for those who are grieving from miscarriage or loss of a baby. Call us at 465-7179, and we will make an appointment that's convenient for you.
As she rises to her apology, anybody else would surely know. He's watching her go.
And we're back. Hope you enjoyed Dr. Goralnik. She's really great, isn't she? Wow. Tons of great
good.
information, yeah. So again, the number...
I want to have a sleep disorder just so I can go meet her.
The number is 773-834-5400 if you'd like to make an appointment. But you know, the docs at Memphis Medical Services, Lancaster Medical Services, Waiakanda, all of our primary care people, all of us actually really are very attuned to that because it has such an impact on so many things that we all do.
Mm-hmm.
And, make an appointment with your doctor if you're struggling with sleep because there are things that can be done. And you may have a hidden sleep disorder like obstructive sleep apnea or something else. Okay?
And there may be something else that you need to get fixed.
We have just a few minutes here. Let's talk about the book fair coming up because that's always a lot of fun.
Yep. That's Thursday, March 28th from 9 to 4 at Scotland County Hospital in the new conference library area over next to Memphis Medical Services. And just in time for Easter and all those things.
And there's always more than books, too. There's always lots of fun kits
all
and things
stuff.
to do stuff as well. I'm still trying to figure out the origami. I can't quite get there. For a while, when the American Association of Pediatrics revised their guidelines, actually it was back in 2000 when the asthma and allergy people and the pediatric people thought, one good way to avoid allergies in our kids, food allergies, is to don't expose them to things that are sort of those allergic type provoking substances like shellfish, soybeans, wheat, eggs, peanuts. Okay, I mean the things that we see commonly, milk. Yeah. Well, it turns out that since that time, since the restriction of the introduction of those items was recommended, they've seen a paradoxical increase in allergies, food allergies, to where now 5 to 8% of kids are now diagnosed with an allergy. Wow. And it's like everywhere. You walk near a vending machine and before you even get there, it's plastered on the walls. Watch out. Don't come near this vending machine. Peanuts have been here. It's like, give me a break.
Charlie Brown and Snoopy?
Well, I mean, come on. When I was a kid, I've never heard about it. And look, there weren't kids breaking out in hives and going to the
No,
what's going on? Okay, well now, I see this is why you need to stay tuned because we keep you up to date and in touch. Mm-hmm. The American Academy of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology has now made renewed and actually on their head, turning it on its head, recommendations. And they're saying that it's a U-turn actually from 2000. And what they're saying is that there's little evidence that delays prevent the development of food allergies, and it may actually turn out that it's encouraging them and inciting them. Think of it as educating the immune system at a vulnerable time when the immune system needs to be educated. We know that young minds are very malleable and need to be educated. Young immune systems are as well. And so what they're recommending is that more studies are needed, of course, to conclusively determine this. But looking on studies of where they've done some early introduction versus late introduction, they're recommending that, between 4 and 6 months to start introducing these kind of things now into the diet so that when the baby then gets exposed to them later or the child, it's not a shock to their immune system and they say, beware, sentry on guard, immune system, ignite because a foreigner has invaded my system. Mm-hmm. And these are really earth-shattering new recommendations.
It's like the folks that use the hand wash once every 5 minutes, whether they need it or not, and they can't figure out why they're sick.
And that's the other theory, because the other thing that's changed is with our hyper-vigilant with all due respect, helicopter parents that are, alcohol swabbing their kids every time that they go outside. Maybe there's something wrong with us, keeping our kids from getting into some germs and playing in the barnyard. We know that rural kids tend to have less of those than city kids. Yeah. So, at any rate, if you want to give your little 6-month-old a little baby teaspoonful of peanut butter, I don't think I'd worry about it.
I thought you were going to say a spoonful of dirt.
No. Well, maybe
a spoonful of sugar.
Sugar, don't forget that. Hey, that'll do it for this time. Thanks for being with us. Remember, this week, be well, share it with someone you love, and sleep well. We'll see you next time.
You're listening to the best in area news, weather, and sports on America's Best Country, 100.5 KMEM Memphis, Missouri.